Yo, you already know your man Soul's tuned into Meet Me for Lunch.
Hey, this is Catherine Stewart-Lindley. Join us for Meet Me for Lunch podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Meet Me for Lunch podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jelena Burgos.
DJ Los Live.
Boogie Bugs.
Let's go. And today for lunch, we have two very special guests. I'm really excited about this because this is going to be very interesting, guys.
Yes, we're excited for this one.
So over here, we have Sam Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
And over on my side over here, we have Catherine. Yes. Yeah, she just said she had two last names, and I was like, But thank you guys. Welcome to the Meet Me for Lunch podcast. We're really excited to have you guys. So Sam Rodriguez is he works in the music business. He manages a ton of producers. You want to get into how many producers, like what producers you manage, what part of what albums they being a part of, and all that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Right now,
and a little bit about yourself too, like you know.
I'm gonna let it out. Well, it's a pleasure being here with you guys. Thank you for having me. But I manage a few producers right now that are constantly doing their thing in the music business. One of them is producer Bands. He's from Boca Raton, Florida. He's 16 years old now. He has multiple #1 albums with NBA YoungBoy. He has a #1 album with Trippie Redd. He actually went
platinum. Closer to the mic.
Go right here.
Mm-hmm.
He went platinum with NBA YoungBoy on the Cross Me record with Lil Baby. He's being in the music industry now is so young. It's so fast and so it's so crazy for him. But besides him, I manage another producer called Yantego. He's more with the YouTube world. Like he's taking over YouTube. He's one of the #1 selling producers on the YouTube world. With all the releasing beats and giving, the artists opportunities to create. Because, without producers, there's no music. There's no beat.
I agree, man.
Artists can't rap on a cappella and,
right.
Bring in plaques. You need a beat to create music.
Yep.
So besides that, I just, manage them. That I built their careers into, becoming a go-to producer, especially in the music world. It's so tricky, so very competitive. But, besides that, it's a very fun journey though, because you learn a lot, you meet people, and to get a lot of opportunities, like get to speak on certain things that a lot of people don't know. So, we here though. Let's get it on.
Where you from?
I'm Dominican. I was born in Dominican Republic, and I came to New York when I was like 6 years old. With my father, and my other brothers. One of my brothers right here as well too, JL.
Shout out to JL.
Shout out to him.
And but I was raised in Brooklyn. I was raised in Bushwick, and I moved to Queens with my father because he ended up having a better job opportunity over there. So I ended up going to school in Queens. So I grew up out in both towns, Queens and Brooklyn.
Awesome. That's great, man. We're glad to have you here, dude.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that.
And Catherine, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Sure. I am a birth worker, which means that I educate people about what their options are, what the possibilities are, how to go through this process of childbirth. And then I also then attend births and support people and help them to have a really fabulous experience. Now, the way that I look at it is that the birth of a child in a family should be the most spectacular day of that family's life, hands down.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it isn't a lot of the time. And I'm not cool with that at all. I think that this really needs to be revolutionized. I think that the public need to really kind of, we pull the veil down and look at what's gone on, and things have gotten systemized and in ways that aren't really working well for anybody. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need to pull things apart and put them back together a bit better so that it's not so clunky and really dysfunctional. And so I help people to be empowered without putting my dukes up and fighting. I'm not fighting the system. I'm actually plugging in to support it. I'm also writing a book, like a an owner's manual of how to have a baby in the hospital system in the United States, basically.
That's dope,
And what you need to know before you're ever in labor. Like, how do you actually plan for it? Because you can't plan a birth. I would ask you, if you could think you plan a birth, try to plan a river. Well, you're going to go whitewater rafting? You plan that river. You see what the river tells you. It'll smash you into the drink, right? So that's like the kind of work I do. I'm a lot of other things. I'm an entrepreneur and an inventor. I do lots of things, but birth work and supporting the family and having an empowered experience around birth is the primary focus of my career.
Sounds interesting, man.
So I know you guys are wondering out there. We have a producer, and then we have someone that worked with childbirth. So Jelena, tell them how this connects.
So yeah, this might be a strange mix to you guys, but Sam was here a few days ago.
Yes,
and we was just kicking it, playing music. He was playing me some of his music, and we started talking about like what's going on, and he started telling me about his experience having a baby during a pandemic. And it's like, I laughed, I cried, and I was like, yo, like, he didn't know what the heck was going on. So I'm like, yo, I got somebody that can explain it to you. And that's when I hit Catherine. I'm like, yo, are you busy? She's like, actually, yes, I'm writing a book. And I was like, perfect.
I want to read that book. I want to read it. I definitely want to read that book.
I think we all should read that book because it's an industry where we have no idea what's going on. And when you don't know what's going on, you get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So it's important to have these conversations, especially with us, like young people. Our parents didn't know what to do when they had us, but we gonna know. We're gonna teach the next generation. So, Sam, why don't you get into your story, man? How was that experience having a baby in the middle of a pandemic?
It was
Quarantine
crazy.
baby.
Yeah, that's
So can you tell us when exactly was your baby born? Like
my baby was born April 7th of 2020.
Yikes!
Oh, right in the
middle, and then my birthday is March 31st. So it's like it was so cluttered. It was very disturbing because of the fact that we in the middle of a pandemic, and I was saying, Jelena, I was in Miami in January. So when I came back from Miami, I have gotten super sick. So I'm like, yo, damn, I feel like this is not right. Like I've never gotten this sick before. I couldn't move from my bed. I was very bad. And, like that whole month passed, I got better. I was with my girl was pregnant at the time. She was about to give birth. We was weighing, and her due date was April 5th. And my son, April 5th, he didn't want to come out, so he came out April 7th. Yeah, so it was so crazy because the pandemic started around my birthday, like in the middle of March.
Right.
That's when they was like, it closed down everything. It's shut down. And then in New York City, you're like, hold on, wait, what? A city that never sleeps shut down? You're like, this is really real. You can't go outside, police outside, and we in the middle of this whole crazy thing going on. And I couldn't do nothing for my birthday, so I was already upset. And then it's like processing, like, hold on, how is she gonna give birth? Like, how is this gonna happen in a hospital? I'm already on Google trying to see how we do something at home, and when we try to do it, it was already too late. And we're like, damn, like, how are we gonna do this? And I thought about it for weeks and weeks and days and before baby was born. And finally, April 6th, she's like, yo, babe, I don't feel good. So I'm like, what's going on? She's like, yeah, I think it's time. I'm like, oh my God, that's right there. My heart dropped. I'm like, oh man, how are we gonna do this? So we called the hospital weeks before, like try to get prepared and everything. And every hospital is like, listen, there's a lot of corona cases here. I should guess only one parent comes. And we're like, wait, what's going on? Like, this is like, it's not processing right. Like mind you, I'm just worried about this pandemic. Like, we're just, hold on, bro. Like, we're going to the hospital where people have to go to get treated. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh man. April 6th, she tells me it's that time. I'm like, okay. We go to the hospital. I'm on my way to the hospital, and I'm trying to be patient. I tell her sister, I'm like, yo, just let's try to see how we do this. And we went in the hospital. Oh, you need a mask. There was temperatures, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, I've never seen somebody pull something out and check my temperature into my head. So I'm like, all right, I'm trying to stay as calm as possible. She's relaxed. She's like, nothing's happening. And she don't even know.
Usual.
And I'm the one.
Yeah, exactly. She's been to all those appointments. She's been having her temperature taken all the time. You're like, what's going on?
I'm like, oh my God, because she had to go get checked up, and in the middle, regardless of a few weeks before, and she's like, as I go with her, they don't let me go in. So I'm like, damn, this has to be really rough for her. But when she's giving birth, she's like, it's like a relief for her. Like, all right, I'm gonna give birth. This baby's coming out already. But I don't feel like she's, had gotten in her head that it's gonna be a very crazy process for her. I already figured it. This is when it gets tricky. During this pandemic, like I was telling you, we literally inside. I'm wearing a bodysuit. She's wearing a mask. They're giving her medications. Then the whole situation happens again. They put the thing on the baby's, her stomach to maintain hear the heartbeat. The heartbeat just stops.
Right.
They come in the room. Oh my God, this whole situation is going on. The baby's heart rate. Give her some stuff, and then it was that the baby pooped. When the baby poops, it's like for some reason the heart rate. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but when they poop, like the heart rate is just something like it just, I don't know what it is, but
it's called meconium, and there are concerns around the baby's well-being. It's not always a problem, but they want to be mindful and
right. So this before they spoke all the surgery stuff. So they started with we're gonna have to do a C-section because you're only 3 centimeters and all this extra stuff, and we're not gonna give you more medication because it might affect the baby. So I'm like, I already knew where it was going. Like, mind you, the first C-section I was like, no, we're not doing this. I asked her before she got in. I'm like, promise me you're not gonna have a C-section. She was like, yo, I promise you I'm not gonna have a C-section. I'm like, all right, you remember what you said. You have to go through this process. Believe in me. Trust me, you're gonna push this kid out. Right. And she went through it.
I love that you feel this passionately.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because she's so strong.
I got a question. It's the same.
Yes, it's the same mother, girl. Right? Yes, both of my kids from the same mother.
Okay, because I heard before. I mean, I could be super wrong, but I heard once you get the C-section with the first baby, you have to get C-section.
That's not
a fact.
This is how this is where it gets tricky.
This is what we got.
This is where it gets tricky.
That is not correct. As a matter of fact, ACOG, the American College of OBGYNs, which is the governing body of OBGYNs, says that women who have had not one but even 2 prior cesareans should be offered a vaginal birth.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
look at that.
And literally, women are being just like sliced and diced, or like, line them up. It's real convenient. We can make you make 3 times as much when you do a cesarean.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
So look,
before, but
so when the lady, the nurse that was, me and her kind of got like into a fake argument because I disregarded that from the room. Like, listen, please don't come in here talking about the baby heart rate. We don't want to hear none of that. We're not getting no C-sections, so save your words. So she did not like it at all. I wish I could have my girlfriend here so she could tell you, like, explain to you the whole experience on her side. She already knew once I said that. She wasn't going to argue with me because we spoke about it before. Please don't argue with me. Trust me, you're not gonna get no C-section this time. Right. So she listened to me and she went right with it. She's like, I don't want to get a C-section. So again comes the nurse. Here comes the doctor. The doctor says, can I speak to you? I already knew what he was gonna do. Right. So they did it very smart this time though. I was like, I don't want to talk to nobody. We're not getting a C-section. She's not getting a C. I was very ignorant because I don't want to hear but I already knew that's what it was to persuade us to get a C-section because they already knew she had one. Mm-hmm. So she went right with it. When there was time for her to give birth, they took me out. They took her out the room. When I was walking out with her to the delivery session, because they took me out the room. The nurse went inside, spoke to her. I heard her from my own ears. She said, no, I don't want to get a C-section. Can we just proceed with it? We kept asking them, is there any other way that we could give birth without a C-section? They said, no, there's no other way. We can't. The only possible way is proceed a C-section, and that's the only way we could give birth right now because the baby's heartbeat and all this extra stuff. But I already knew that was all bullshit. So when they took her out the room, literally when they was taking her out, I was standing outside. They made me change suits. So when she gets in, they took her inside the room by herself again. Mm-hmm. for the doctor to speak to her. So while they think that I'm changing my suit, I was like, nah, I'm not changing this suit. I opened the door and I went in by myself. The nurse was supposed to go get me the suit. I did. Then I went to go look at what they was doing to her, and they was surrounded in a circle, persuading her to get a C-section. So I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all still, like, I went in the room. I'm like, yo, why are y'all doing this? Like, this is how y'all treat people. This is supposed to be a dope ass, some dope ass shit. Y'all,
you had mentioned too that like, she was yelling for you because she was afraid. She felt like she felt like she was getting ganged up by like the nurses.
That's
and the
when I already knew what was going on. I couldn't hear it because I'm already outside of the hallway.
She called out
when
for
I
you.
opened that door. I hear babe, and I'm like, because she already knew that they was trying to persuade her.
Right.
She didn't know that they told me to change my suit because we're going into labor. But I didn't listen to them. I went straight to the room. As soon as the nurse left me, I went through the door. The doors are like super slow.
Right.
Yeah.
And while you was outside, right, you had mentioned that like you was feeling sick because every 5 seconds you kept hearing, yo, such and such died.
Yeah, it was
how many 13 bodies.
Exactly. Right before. Oh my God, bro. You don't understand. I was going crazy because I was already so anxious. And you hear these nurses, oh, somebody just died on the 5th floor. I'm like, holy shit, this shit is getting serious. Mind you, we're like in my head, I'm just like, yo, is somebody else coming here? Or the nurses. I'm scared for the nurses. Like, yo, they the ones got to deal with patients. So imagine them having coronavirus. You understand? And then you know what's so crazy? I always thought that the theory of getting tested is what's gonna get you sick, and they're gonna be like, even if you don't have it, they're gonna be like, yeah, you got coronavirus. You understand? Like, that's how I felt at the time. So I told her, don't take no test. That's bullshit. They was like, yo, if you don't take this test, then we can't deliver the baby. But that was bullshit. They persuaded her to take the test. So she took the test. She was negative. So that's literally right after they took her out the room. That's when everybody's just a whole commotion. Like, it was just somebody died here, somebody died there, and then I don't want to tell her this because it's like, yo, she's gonna go crazy. We in a hospital when there's people dying from coronavirus cases downstairs. So I'm like, oh my God, I was nervous, and then I was shook. I was scared, and then I was upset because they were trying to persuade us to do the C-section because it was a so money situation.
I can imagine the stress, man.
Yes.
I can imagine the stress.
It's like a whole corrupted shit. Like, they have all that shit planned out. Yo, the doctor's gonna go speak to the dad. Yeah, go persuade the shorty to go because she feels, like pressure since he's saying no. I know if we could get her to say yes, he has no other option.
It's like a scheme. It's like a scheme,
bro.
Right. And then, so then she ends up giving natural birth. And then, what happened?
When they was seeing that it was serious, that we're giving natural birth, they started pulling out magical tools out of nowhere. A vacuum sealer, or a freaking vacuum sealer.
It's a vacuum.
It's a vacuum. And they took something to suck the baby's head out. They cut her open in her vagina, and it's like, now you have a bunch of solutions. But when we was in the room and I'm asking y'all if there's any other solutions, they're like, no, there's no other solutions to this. I'm like, are y'all serious, bro? Like, and then I said it as weird as I made it so awkward the whole entire delivery, but she was so thankful for me. To this day, she's like, babe, thank you so much. Like, I really didn't think I could do it. That's all she kept telling me. But before she said thank you to me, I was in charge of the situation because we promised each other that we wasn't gonna fight through this process. We like, yo, we're not gonna let these people get in our heads. We're the one that, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
You understand? So right when the tools came out, me and the same nurse, which is the same nurse the whole entire time, had like a funny argument, like a funny, oh yeah, you don't have no tools now, right? So I'm like, yo, so why is it I made it super awkward. I made it awkward the whole entire time, and I hope she watches this and she knows exactly who she is, because right after we gave birth, she tried to come to me on some friendly stuff, like, oh my God, congratulations. I'm like, oh yeah, congratulations. Nah, it's cool, bro. We don't even gotta speak, because according to there was no tools, right? There was no other option. She like, oh, but this is the procedure. If you are giving natural birth, we have no other option but to get these type of stuff for the baby. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. She gave natural birth, and my son is so healthy to this day. Like, this is the best part. She gives birth. They take us back to the room. They doing some procedure on my son, because right before she gave birth, he took another poop from the drugs that they was giving her. He took another poop and he swallowed some of his poop. This is the crazy part. The umbilical cord was choking him. So when they cut the umbilical cords around his neck, he already has swallowed his poop. So mind you, swallowing poop and being like you're choking and then swallowing his poop. Like, it's normal that babies do that, but it was like, it's look at all the situations that's happening, and then now I'm forgetting about the pandemic. Now I'm just worried about him. I'm forgetting about this whole pandemic situation. I'm still in a suit and she's pushing with a mask on. So it's like, bro, it was crazy. So when they had put him in like some little what is it, ICU?
What was he? Was it in the room?
Yeah,
an isolate.
Well, he was in like some a little glass thing, and he had to stay in the hospital for 3 days
in the middle of the pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Were you there the 3 days, or you had to?
I had to each day. I had to go one times a day.
He was in the NICU.
In NICU, there you go.
Intensive care unit. Okay,
there you
I
go.
thought you were talking about the thing that he was lying and not the.
NICU.
Room.
That's what it's called. Yeah. So before they put him,
what is that?
NICU, neonatal intensive care unit is NICU. NICU.
Wow. Okay.
I just want to point out the fact that I love that you telling your story and then Catherine can relate. Like, I just want to point that out. Like, it's really,
so
really
crazy.
awesome. Like, I'm just listening. And
I know she got a lot to say. I'm almost done.
Yes.
Trust me. I know.
Definitely.
Chomping at the bit. I'm actually really wanting to take in what you're saying.
Yeah,
and
like
your experiences, and then speak to how mortified I am about it. But it's complicated. That's what I said.
Yeah,
this is a complicated
with the experience that I was going through as a father, man. Oh my God, man!
You don't wish it on anybody.
Yeah, I don't at all, because I understand it's a middle of a pandemic, and then to leave a baby in the hospital. They kicked me out as soon as she gave birth.
After you'd been hearing that people are dying on this floor and that floor, and you got your little baby in there.
And then one thing too is that when you're in these situations, you usually have like your mom there or your brother in there, but you was up there by yourself.
I didn't have nobody.
I'm sure you called family and they was like, bueno.
Yeah, like, what? You don't understand. Like, in the middle of pandemic, I called my dad, I called my mom, I called everybody. The only one that was outside was my brother. He was literally outside in my car, and I'm just like, I'm looking at him from the window and stuff. He stood there a few hours. Like, he stood there for a very long time. I'm very grateful for him for being there for me. Just knowing that my brother was downstairs, that's why I was so patient. I was always by the window, like, and it's like, it was so crazy, because as soon as she gave birth, they kicked me out. It was like, oh yeah, so you good, you could go, pandemic situation, that's the rules right now, no father could stay here, it's extra stuff. And I was just like, I was like, you know what, my son is, he's delivered, she didn't have no C-section, she got this. You got this? She's like, yeah, I got this. So she stood there. I spoke to her in the hospital. She slept with her mask on. She had to sleep with a mask on and everything. Then they called me the second day. Oh, you could come get her. She's better. She could, she could walk. So like, you just be careful with the stitches. I'm like, okay. So I went and got her, and she was feeling down. She's like, oh, I don't want to leave the baby. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm gonna come back to the hospital. Don't worry, I got him. Don't worry, I'm gonna come back to the hospital. And it was so crazy because I have this thing for sneaking in hospitals. I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't know what it is. So that same day that I picked her up, I already remember I had the bodysuit from before. I grabbed the same bodysuit. Remember I was telling you? Yeah. I put the bodysuit and I walked around the block like if I was like an astronaut. Like, I was just walking and I walked right through the emergency room. I just walked right in. I went through the back entrance. I went up the elevator and I found them. I was there. I was watching him for a little bit. Then they kicked me out because of course I got caught. They kicked me out. I was like, yo, you can't be here. I'm like, what are you talking about? I walked right in. I didn't know nothing. This is my first day. So they was like, oh, you could come get him tomorrow or the day after. So every day I went, and he was there for 3 days. And it's like going to sleep at night for 3 days. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, yo, wait, my son is in the hospital. Like,
and you felt guilty too
because it was kind of my fault. Because remember, if they would have let her do the C-section, he would have never swallowed his poop. So I'm feeling like shit.
That's true. You don't know.
Yeah.
But that's
really
how I felt, though.
Of course it is the way.
That's how I felt. I'm like, damn, I should have just let them do a C-section. Now my son is in the hospital with this pandemic, and I felt so bad. And she knew I felt so bad because she kept telling me, I told her, yo, I feel like shit, yo, like I really put him in the hospital. Like, what if he, like, my head is like, what if he, God forbid, anything would have happened to like him swallowing his poop, the umbilical cord, whatever would have never got you know, like it was just so much shit going through my head, bro. And oh man, I never, like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I'm speechless after that whole entire episode.
So what I do is I actually support families like yours in how to navigate the system. So and it's basically like two different worlds. You've got the family who is not invested in the medical aspect, and you've got the medical side who is like just trying to do whatever they think is the best for the family. And these two things don't always go well together. Yeah. And so to build a bridge where communication flows much better, and also what's going on in the labor that's not having it go so effectively. So in terms of, moving your girlfriend's body around so that the babies have to spiral to get down into a pelvis, and they got to spiral to come back out. They're called the cardinal movements. Their baby has to come in to the pelvis and then be able to get out. So
it's crazy.
Women's bodies need to be moved around. When you're on an epidural for a long period of time, you're lying in one position. I don't know about you, but if I'm trying to roll a boulder uphill, it's hard. If it's rolling down the hill, so it's about working with
smoother.
Well, yeah, it's much smoother, but even if you're on an epidural, the woman's body still needs to be moved around quite a bit to help facilitate the baby corkscrewing in and corkscrewing back out. The top side is called the pelvic inlet. The pelvic outlet comes where the baby comes out, right? So, but helping with all aspects of what's going on, why is it going on, what do you need to know, what's possible, what's absolutely not possible, no way, no how. These are the rules, and also what is highly bendable. Like they may call it hospital rules, but it's actually a hospital preference. Like you have preferences, they have preferences, but it's not the law. So
that's what
being
I'm
able to navigate
tricky.
all that.
So
but that's my profession, is what I do. I'm a professional hospital advocate.
Now I know.
Exactly. Now we know.
I'm calling you. Hey, look, no more C-sections.
We don't want you to
no, it's over.
So in a perfect world, how is this process supposed to go? Like, what are the expectations that we should have if the woman is fully capable of giving natural birth? And why is it that when you do go to the hospitals, they push so much for C-section? So I'll give you an example. Like, my own cousin, she was pregnant at like 18, 19, young, super healthy. And they were pushing her to get a C-section too. She's smart, she had done her research. She's like, nah, I got this. And then another story was, this one was like, didn't end so well, but it was kind of like, it's kind of fucked up because the woman, they gave her a bunch of drugs and for the pain, obviously, and she was so doped up, she was so drugged up that they moved her to they was like, oh, we're gonna move you to another room. So she just thought, okay, they moved her to another room. When she woke up, her baby was born. They gave her C-section, and it was basically kind of like too late. Like she was just worried about her baby.
They did under general anesthesia. They knocked her out.
Yeah, they knocked her out. And then obviously some people
didn't even sign for that?
No, man. So she just went in, and then of course she's a minority. So I didn't know that this was not okay. What if it is? I don't know.
I didn't let her sign those papers.
I don't know. I don't have any kids, so I definitely don't know.
That's like signing your life away. You know that, right?
I don't.
That's like when the doctors come and be like, oh, here, sign this paper. This is just in case we got to proceed a C-section. That's signing your life away. That's giving them the right to go and operate anything in your body.
Yeah, she was so doped up.
I don't know if I'm mistaken.
There are plenty of circumstances where the baby could die, and where you're actually doing the surgery is meant to be life-saving. So there are plenty of times historically before we had the operation of cesarean section where babies did die, and often the mother then died of sepsis because the baby was trapped in there and had passed, and it was now killing her.
Oh my God!
Toxically, in her body. So, it's no joke. So, cesarean, epidural, pitocin, vacuums, like all these different possibilities are tools. They're meant to be used effectively, but when you use a tool on everything, you could smashing with a hammer, smashing everything, when maybe it's a Phillips head screwdriver that you actually need. Then we can get into a far more complicated circumstance where we now have a third of all women in the United States are being delivered by cesarean.
Wow.
And that's a lot. It's higher, much higher in
That's
New York.
a lot, man.
And,
Everybody I know is C-sections.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh my
most of
God,
the
I feel
people I
so
know.
bad.
Well, it's also, supporting labor is, you could say it in a way, it's an art form. And when people don't have nurturing care, where people are actually invested and patient and supportive and helping the family know what they need to do. How much of the time were you alone, the two of you and your girlfriend, just trying to, well, what are we supposed to do? Why is that machine going off? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Why is it happening? What's not happening? You don't know what's going on. And so
I was lost.
That's basically what I'm there as kind of an interpreter of all that's going on, what we could ask for, what we could do, what's possible, like literally staying.
That'd
You're
be
like in
so much
between. You're the
helpful,
middle
yo.
woman.
But a step ahead of you,
Right.
because I've done this more than 2,000 times here in New York
How long
City.
you been in the business?
More than 20 years.
More than 20 years. Wow.
Depends on how you calculate it, but like from my first birth or from like when I was really doing it full time, but definitely more than 20. So, yeah, boy, it's you're almost in an impossible situation. That's unheard of. I don't know what happened. If she was out, you said it was a friend or your family?
A friend of a friend.
Friend of a friend. I mean, there's no way I can speak to it clinically because wasn't there. But like, it's. I mean,
Why are they pushing for the C-sections like more than the natural birth? Like, what is the reason?
I think Sam, you and I had this conversation off air a little while ago about I cannot think, or I can't go right now in my mind and think these people are evil. They're out just to get your money, because then like these are people I interact with and I work with. I think it's very easy for people to get into a mindset where it's fine. It's like it's really clean. It's like controlled.
They're trained.
But it's very controlled. It's a very controlled circumstance, which it is, and you can like account for lots of variables. They do make significantly more money off of it, and they can say exactly when it's going to start. Pretty much have a real good idea of when it's going to end. And human beings
scheduling-wise.
like that. A lot of people like feeling like everything is going to just fit and it's all good and you can line it up and,
It's a surgery, man. It's a real big surgery.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It's major abdominal surgery.
To take a kid out of there, too.
Yes.
Oh my
it's
God.
also lots of problems. There's lots of possible risk factors. Risk factors go up with each intervention, and cesarean being a higher order of intervention.
Oh my God.
So I think I'm not against them. I know I've been in circumstances where we would have lost that baby if we hadn't, but it's not the most common scenario of why a cesarean's happening. Most of the cesareans are happening with something like, well, this is not working out. But I've become a master of how to make it work out. So I've been called by some really incredible OBs here in New York City, birth angel, because they say to me, nothing goes wrong when you're here, because I am focused on that flow of what needs to happen, what we need to get that baby to do, and how to work with anatomy and structure and musculature and position and angle and all that stuff.
Those things are important. Those are the major things because, oh my God.
But you're just she's left lying in a bed in agony. If you're lying down, a woman lying down in labor is the worst position she could possibly be in. But what have you seen in every TV show, every movie, a woman lying in a hospital bed? Well, you want to be in agony in labor? Lie down. Your body, her body, every woman's body in labor is screaming to stand up. Yeah. And yet we have this image that because that's what you see, you're like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, and so I must be bad at it. Why aren't we like having better images of women laboring need to be standing upright and leaning slightly forward? Now, if she gets, because that's where it doesn't hurt as much. And it also, you're trying to get a baby down through here. So how about we not like lie back where it has to come up to come out? And where all of that weight of the baby, placenta, amniotic fluid, etc., is all weighing down.
Yeah, they put her in different positions when she was giving natural birth. So that's why it was like, oh, there's different opportunities now. Now there's different positions and stuff. It was
standing your ground for like
saying.
changing around and moving. But all during the labor, there was the possibility of actually getting that moving, because there's a couple different things that you had said about the nuchal cord, which is a tight cord, and having aspirated some of the meconium, which is like breathing in it's the particulate matter of the baby's for poop. It's not like the whole poop, but it's in the amniotic fluid. And the concern around that usually is that it's sticky and it's like tar if it's really thick. So it's not, can prevent air from being able to go in or out. Yeah. So it's a real consideration. I was
so scared.
It is scary. I mean, there's so many different aspects of this because this is a human life, and it's really, but if we always default to cutting babies out and not being willing to see what is really needed in this circumstance, and I gotta say, I hear you when you say, isn't there anything else we could do? And the answer was no. And then you, rightly so, maybe you came at it a little hot and heavy, but like, where were these tools before when I asked?
There was nowhere to be seen.
But I feel you. I'm like, that is like, where are we that we are not like, here's what's possible. But quite frankly, this is like the deal. How many people do you know doing whatever job they do that are brilliant at it? A few.
Right.
Successful people.
A couple. Like, you're like, oh, that was brilliant. And then you got a few who are like, what are you doing your job? You don't even belong working with people. Get away. They're rotten apples, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else is kind of average. Kind of like, whatever. So average, you don't remember them, or like really, really better than average. And you're like, this is really working out. Or like, but so some like around that range. But to truly have a spectacular practitioner who is guiding you and nurturing you and caring for you during the birth of your child is a rare experience. So I pretty much count on one hand the number of doctors that I think are spectacular in New York City.
Wow.
That's
you got 20 years in it.
I have nobody that's, constantly tell me, look, this is what this is for.
Right, to tell you like this is normal.
Don't stress about this. And then it was just like, things back to back that makes you like, oh my God, there's only a time until I explode. Like,
that's exactly,
because there's so much pressure, so much emotions being mixed up, and so much questions and so much wondering. Like, yo, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna happen? Oh my God, the baby's not out yet. Anything can happen, and then they scare you even more to, for you could feel like shit and be like, oh nah, this is my kid. You putting your kid in danger. Like, they make you feel so guilty, and it's like. That's why I did the first C-section, but then the second one I was like, you know what, I'm gonna boss up. I'm a god on this one. I read about this. And that's the thing. Just like how I read and like made myself listen. Like, yo, I'm gonna listen to what I just read. That's what a lot of people listen to. Like, as soon as they go in the hospital, listen to the doctors.
Yeah,
the doctor's going to tell you what the best thing to do. They're going to tell you what best medicine to do, what to take, what actions to do, or here, wear this, the baby's going to be safe, or we're going to be able to hear the baby with this. Like, people are, like, they don't deliver a baby. So that's like, you don't know how to write. Listen, you got to do like this. You listening to your teacher, to your mentor. So the doctors is just like, here, this is the
They're
next
the ones
step.
that know point blank period.
Okay.
But
actually, who's doing that for a goat when she's in labor?
Damn.
She doing it. Nobody. It's a bodily freaking function.
Yeah.
We are micromanaging out our asses. We are destroying it.
Yeah.
It's a bodily function. I was saying this when we first started talking, that this is a bodily function for the female mammal. And we are female mammals. So, humans are female, and they're when they are, and mammal, and it is a normal bodily function. So when you micromanage it, and this medicine and that thing, it's a cascade of dysfunction that can actually take it far off track. Now, those tools and resources can be quite useful to bring something back on track. But if you've got, one size fits all doesn't fit most. So if you're giving like every drug to every single person that's coming through, you're probably overusing. You're not actually creating the environment. Okay, so the hormones that are required for a woman or female or person, actually, because there are trans people who give birth too, of course, and for a person to deliver, the brain has to produce certain hormones, and these hormones are namely oxytocin, which is called the love hormone, and makes women produce a lot of it when they orgasm. Men don't produce a lot of oxytocin typically, but women produce a lot of it when they orgasm, and it's probably why we were designed to take care of babies, because it also makes you really want to nurture and love and feel close to this little baby. But you need a lot of oxytocin and melatonin, which is a sleep hormone. So I don't know about you, but I make love and sleep in a very calm environment, in a safe environment, in a nurturing environment, in a not one where people are telling me what to do. And your description of your birth, do you think, did it sound calm? Was it calm? Was it loving? Was it nurturing? Did you feel like you were really being moved through in a way where anything could have happened? Well, okay, so if a female can't orgasm in that environment, she can't have a baby in it. Wow. So you want to get down to brass tacks? We need to start creating spa hospitals where it's more like where it's got this kind of crazy ass fabulous lighting with candles and gorgeous amethyst stones. Yeah,
Well,
you could be able to. I know exactly.
And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an operating room down the hall for those that actually need it, but the threat of the cesarean. Okay, so if you're going to say because since we're talking about the female anatomy, so I'm going to leave the male out of it for the moment. But if you're going to say, yell from outside the door, if you don't orgasm in 2 minutes, we're going to cut you.
Right, it's true.
She gonna come? I'll think so. Party over. Thanks. No, never mind. Bye.
Right.
No, but basically, we are preventing the scenario of what the body, what the brain, this thing is well designed in most people. And of course, the human body is not flawless. It's not it can't have breakdown or even come into this world with dysfunction. But if a third of women in the United States are that broken, well, actually, then the system that's supporting them, I'm going to use giant air quotes, is what's broken.
Yeah, but that's why her position is so important, because she's the one that's taking care of the situation, because she knows how stressful it is. But you got to understand too, the doctors are stressed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
what I'm saying.
But
if you
especially during the pandemic too.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly my point.
So when you have someone that's the middle person in between both, that's why we're here having this conversation, because you didn't know she existed. I didn't know she existed until the day I met her, and we was like, yo, what you doing? And when the way that you explained it, can you explain it the way that you explained it that day? I don't know if you remember, but
it's always different when I say.
You said it something like, you said something about you're there when a baby is born, and then you're there if it dies too. Something like that.
Oh well, no. So what you're what you're addressing is the fact that I attend births. I support births, but many years ago I attended a birth where the baby did die, and I realized I knew nothing about how to support this family, and so I went on a journey of learning about death and about how to support death and how to be there for people, because people do it all wrong. Basically make the hurt deeper and harder, and we're doing it around birth. These are bookend events. You enter this world and you exit it. Those are the guarantees. That's part of the deal.
You're going to have that on your book?
What's that?
Can you go deeper
Are you gonna
into
have that
that
on your book? Because I want that book.
Yeah,
we're gonna go into it. We're gonna go into
book.
it. But can you explain that a little bit of that process, and how we could have her during when the child is being born, but you can also have her when your child doesn't make it.
How is
so
that?
I've attended stillbirths where the baby has already passed, but the baby still needs to be born. And I think a lot of times what gets suggested,
so they have to give birth to a dead baby.
Yes. And so
that happened to my mom, by the way.
That happened to my aunt.
Yeah. No therapy whatsoever after.
I know, these women are just people, families, other children are traumatized by this and really need to be heard. Yeah. But so, what's usually suggested is you do a cesarean to just remove it. But there is something wrong in that for a lot of people. I'm not saying it's what's right for one. It may be, totally wrong for another. But grieving is a normal part of our ability to adapt to circumstances that are painful beyond measure, beyond belief. And the families that I've been honored, really humbled by, in supporting them in a child, their loved child that they had already lost, was that they got the chance to grieve for all that they wished for, this person, all that they wanted, and was never going to happen.
Right.
And they needed a process of going through the labor of being able to laugh, to cry, to be angry, to be sad, to be anything. And I found that so many people actually have said that it was therapeutic in going through the process. Now, I understand for some people that would not be what they would want to do, and I really do respect people's needs. My goal is that I can hear so deeply into where somebody is coming from, what they want and need, that my support is like I had made a glove for that particular hand.
Right.
Their hand, not my hand. So supporting from their own, from what is important to them, their needs, wishes, wants, dreams, desires, so that that's real support if it fits like it was made for you. So that's part of my process in working with a family, is to get at who they are, what they are, and in very specific ways.
Yeah, that's crazy. I also want to get into like, obviously, like, we don't know much about this business and what goes on. And it's crazy because all of us might go through it. Or all of us have had a family member, our moms, our sisters, whoever. Everybody ends up going through it, but we know so little
in your
about
life. Oh, your sister, your brother, somebody's gonna have a baby.
Something that's natural, but yet we know so little about it. And I know back in the summer when we had seen each other, you was talking about like the differences between privileged people, and how their experience is not like his was. It's not like how my cousin's was. It's not like how my mother's was. So like, can you get like a little bit into that, and if you can?
Yeah. It's it's hard to say because of course it's privileged people who are hiring me.
Right.
So I'm gonna, because people who are privileged who are in the circles that would even hear about the kind of work that I do, that can pay for the work that I do. So it's like this weird kind of like, okay, so I actually. But I also I've done births where people who can't pay their rent, and I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not going to charge you.
Right. But they know of you, so
and they were
hired you.
They were on Medicaid to get to like the kind of care that anyone can get if they're pregnant. Any person can get that medical care. But so it's not that I don't do charitable work, and I've been on boards of multiple charities to support the structure of like how choices are being actually made and really trying to extend to the community what's possible. But there's a huge discrepancy in the way people are treated. It's a reflection on what happens if two different people walk into a store. I heard Forrest Whitaker was like taken down to the floor, and they were holding him because he'd walked into a store and then walked out and he hadn't bought anything. I'm like, it's Forrest freaking Whitaker. Yeah. But he's black. So, so he's a suspect.
Right.
And,
I've heard down to like even the medication. We don't even get the same potent medication.
Well, do you know that gynecology was actually started on this doctor used female slaves without any anesthesia whatsoever to perfect surgical procedures.
Wow. Yeah, so I remember that.
It actually was an attempt to fix something called a fistula, where there's this where the opening to the vagina and the opening to the urethra kind of open together, so then there's just fluid pouring out of her on a regular basis. She can't hold her bladder, and it was a big problem. And he was trying to see if he could figure out a way to solve it over and over and over again. Some slaves, he was doing this surgery over and over and over again on them with no anesthesia at all. And so, what he said that black women didn't feel pain. They were just hysterical, so that's why they were screaming.
And that's
this is the basis of obstetrics, gynecology. This is so the origins of gynecology come from that. And so, guess what? No, women of color aren't treated the same way. What are you trying? Are you using drugs? A lot of times, they get drug tested when they arrive. That's added on to their blood work, where it's not for somebody who's like privileged and. It's
That's
there's
crazy,
just
man.
we live in it's a reflection on the rest of society
Right.
of what one person gets and another person, no, screw you, you don't get it. You know, you didn't, you're born the wrong color. Yeah. We are all children of God, and it's my belief anyway. And we are equal, and we deserve to really, have. I mean, we're talking about basic needs here. We're talking about the birth of your child. To bring
man.
a being into the world healthy and well, with dignity and respect. Because the cornerstone of my work, the entire reason why I do my work, is that this day that we're talking about, the birth of your beloved child, is the most spectacular day of your life, hands down so far.
At all. Yeah.
That is why I do the work that I do. And guess what I see all the time? That I see I see people in ecstasy.
Wow.
Around the birth of their children. And that's what I wish for. And it's not because it's done this way, or it's not because it's not a cesarean, because a cesarean can be an ecstatic cesarean. If it needs to be in a cesarean, why not have it be the best cesarean experience ever, where everyone is feeling heard and seen and really valued and held as this family unit. It's still a birth. So it's not whether it's an induction or whether it was a home birth or whether it was a birth center birth or whether it was whatever. It's that it all moves towards love and towards connection and family and with real joy. Yeah. And guess what? People are more joyful when they're heard, when they're seen, when they feel validated, when their questions are considered legitimate. I think it sounds to me like most of your questions were considered illegitimate. I love what you said of why can't I watch? This happened, and I interjected that it was one case where that man fell, and it's heartbreaking that he did, but that was liability stepped in and said, now nobody can be present at all. As opposed to that was a heartbreaking case, but now how many people
we all gotta suffer
in
for
the
it.
United States every day. And then now no one is there supporting the person laboring for that period of time getting an epidural. So I think there is there are ways of doing it. So I do what you tried to do with expert diplomacy.
Okay.
Like high level art, like Ginsu knife diplomacy, because you catch more flies with honey.
That's
and
right.
so I basically can take a situation where they know what I'm. They see me coming in. I've been around so long, and I kind of got a distinct look going on over here. And so they're like, "Hey," they know my name, and they're excited to see me, and they know they're going to have to step their game up because I'm going to be asking stuff of them based on what this family wants. And it's not I'm asking; it's the family that's asking.
Yeah, man, that's so helpful, man. That's really good.
But where then everybody can I'm not trying to play roles. It's not a power play at all. I will surrender all power and control to the doctor. And because I do, they don't need to feel like they've got to grab control. And my clients can really feel like they have their right place in the dynamic team because they're kind of like the center. The doctor is in the center.
Yeah,
the family is the center.
That's what I'm saying.
But in our system, the doctor is the center. And everybody, the family is somehow on the periphery as opposed to the family in the center.
Exactly what I said. As soon as they come in through the house, listen to the doctor, whatever the doctor says, and then it's like, all right, then what do we just stay here, stay silent, be quiet?
But
no.
The problem is you don't. How do you know if you've got a great doctor or not? And how do you know? Because the doctors that I'm who are incredible, truly, they should be believed. And because they wouldn't lie to you about it, they would but what's so funny about somebody who's a gem at what they do, that because you're so heard, you feel so seen and so validated, and you've
customer service is in every industry. I don't care what industry you're in. You could be a motherfucking genie. You gotta respect whoever the fuck you're doing the wishes for. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hello, how may I help you? Would you like to make a wish? Everybody's in customer service.
My genie was a little rude though.
Right.
I'm still waiting for my wish. Stop. I have a question for you, Catherine.
Yeah, sure.
What made you get into this job? Because I work with kids, right? from middle school to high school, and I do it because I love it. I like to make a difference in their life. I work, with minorities kids, so I want to put them in a good path. I mean, try, right? Because all we could do is try.
Yes,
so
right.
what made you get in this business?
So it's a sort of a circuitous answer. I was raised around animals. We had a lot of them. My grandparents had cattle, and so it's like farm-like.
Where are you from?
Florida.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And
I'm like, farm, New
yeah,
York?
No,
What?
no. But it was Florida. People don't think that either. But and I love animals. Animals respond to me. I wanted to be Snow White when I was growing up. Like, when she'd hold out her finger and a bird would just light upon it and sit there, and so I wanted wild animals to come to me, all animals to feel like they could trust me, and they do. And because that's about vibe. An animal doesn't give two shits about your personality. They care what you actually are, because that's what they're vibing with. They can smell it on you. They feel it on you. And we have that too. We just kind of get pulled by the personality and not like always trusting that more deeper animal sort of instinct. But so animals birth much better than we do, much better. They seek to get away from everyone. They seek darkness, privacy, very controlled environment where it's calm, soothing, relaxed. And they do things that are in natural keeping with what their body needs. So I'm not saying that that's perfect, because, if something goes wrong, it goes wrong, but they do it a lot more simply. And, then I started working with people. I was asked to go to a birth, and I was like, okay, all of my references had 4 legs and fur. So I was like, I'll do my best. I don't know. And the hospital stuff was wild to me, because that was not very far out of my league. But I did have some absolute skills that came through that were like that were acknowledged immediately by those who were there, and then I kind of worked around my friends groups, and then realized there was a word for it, and that was a long time ago. So, but I'm also an avid researcher, and it was not enough for me to just kind of do something and have people feel good, rub her back, tell her she's doing great. I actually needed to know what I was talking about. And so needed to know every aspect, or as much about the medical aspect of it, much about the physiology, the pelvis, the structure, the bony structure, the musculature, the ligaments, tendons, how everything works, so that you could have one human exit another human's body, and how to work with it. So I research everything. I teach, and the book is about how to prep for a labor so that you are most likely to have the fewest possible problems during
What's
the
the
labor.
name of the book?
Okay, well, it's
Let's
publishing
get
in
into
spring
it.
2021. So the tentative title, although I think it's probably as Birth Angel, Birth Bitch.
Let's go.
I love it.
Wow.
Love that.
So this is something that you can't even go to school for, right? Is this something that you did your own research and you did your own
there's
independent thing, right?
What I do is called Doula, a doula,
Okay.
Doula, and it's to be honest, it's a 3-day course.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's it. And so that's not a lot. You
Right,
have to read some books and fill out some forms and stuff, and you have to attend 3 births to be certified.
Wow.
Wow.
Now,
You
when
had a
I
few
did 3 births,
under your belt.
well, when I'd done 3 births, I knew what 3 births would teach you, which is just a little bit. You get an experience of something. So, and I think there's a place for each person when they are coming into any profession. You've got a hierarchy of of experience and skill and knowledge, and you've also got different types of people. Some people are just like, okay, this is what I do. I rub their back, I do this, and some people are like, I want in there. I want to understand the chemistry and the science and the the structures.
Curious,
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions when you're in that delivery room.
Well, but like your little kids, their kids are curious. I'm perpetually a 2-year-old. I'm like, but why? Why is that like that? What could have been done to prevent it from having happened in the first place? That's my way my mind works. I'm just a big old 2-year-old, so I've gotten to a lot of understanding of how to work with. It's not perfect. I'm constantly learning though, and the best providers, meaning doctors and midwives that I work with, are also on that. Salmon swimming upstream in medicine, quite frankly, because basically you learn it in medical school, you just keep doing it until you die or you quit or you retire or whatever, as opposed to, yeah, but that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Why are we still doing that?
What inspired you to write the book? Was it like a certain situation, or was it like an epiphany? Like, what was it?
I do not have my ringer on, and it still rang through. I'm sorry. I turned my ringer off. But anyway, so it was basically what happened was that multiple families, like just family after family. I've had hundreds of families tell me, like, you've got to write this down. Nobody is like, I've never heard any of this stuff. Like,
right.
Please. And these would be people who had disastrous first births, who had then did a birth with me, who were like, what the
difference? Yeah.
You know, like, this is like,
imagine. I wish I would have met you 4 years ago.
this is not night and day. It's purple and giraffe. Like, they don't even belong in the same, like, this was a birth, you know, kind of idea. And so I heard that over and over and over again. And I actually thought, oh, wait, I should then write the book.
Right.
So that only happened recently, where I was like, oh yeah, okay, all right, you got to write a book.
The universe sent you for that.
Yeah,
definitely. It was time for us to wake up and like realize what the heck goes on when, you know, we're about to have kids.
Yep.
So,
Really, you can't find it. This is not a childbirth prep class. I teach childbirth education. I call it Birth 101. It's sort of like, but it mostly is about like what's going to go on in the hospital and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's just like not very many hours. What do you think it's going to come to? It's really just a little bit. I think it's a good idea to do because it gives you sort of like a, whoa, okay, I get some of the, ideas around it. Studies have shown that when families do childbirth education not connected to their hospital, they learn more about what their rights and options are than when they're doing it within the institution, which can sometimes, not always, but sometimes be mostly a course about how to be a good little patient.
Yeah.
And not what your rights and options are. And I'm a big believer in rights and options and choices and things. Basically I help my clients upgrade from the back of the plane right by the toilets up into first class on pretty much every single thing that goes on in the hospital. You can upgrade that, upgrade this, you know, and it may be a smaller upgrade and maybe a massive upgrade. And it's really a big deal to have
comfortability,
right? And just sometimes the upgrade is the timing, so it's done in right timing, so that it would feel the most like
you're ready.
Yeah, where you're really ready, and calmed and be or to delay it so that it's it actually someone can settle before doing something else. So sometimes it's actually the tactile experience of one thing versus another. It's going to be really horrible up against your skin, as opposed to actually this will actually feel wonderful and you won't have any.
Wow, that's important. That's very important.
When you combine them all together, if you're wearing like cardboard with sandpaper socks and like, you know, you have like sand in your shoes, like you add that up, you're like, I am so irritable today. Well, actually, no, you had a bunch of circumstances that were like grinding away at you. So, and it's all like there, but it does take a little bit longer or a little bit more time, or the nurse has to do things out of order. Right. And okay, so when the nurse is in the room, I will do anything to make her work lighter.
It goes both ways. You help the families and you help the doctors.
Well, I help the doctors. I help the nurses. Like if everyone who comes in that room where your baby's going to be born is in a great mood, who feels supported, feels heard and listened to, guess what? It's a whole thing, because everybody's then on that path towards this really beautiful experience of a new soul entering this planet in this time,
dope, man.
Right in this day.
That was amazing, man. I thank you guys, both of you guys, for being here today and sharing your story and your business and how can you be so helpful to families all over, you know, any country. Usually that job, you would never not have a job.
When COVID, I started doing it virtually. I was doing clients in Germany, clients in, like all over the place. Literally, people were reaching out to me. I was doing virtual. I was on FaceTime, like FaceTime and Zoom. I was doing births, because you missed it. There was a period of time during COVID where partners were locked out. They couldn't attend the birth at all.
Yes, so I heard about that too.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
you got to be at the birth, but then they were kicking everybody out.
They kicked me out.
They couldn't kick his ass out for shit.
And
he gonna sneak back in there.
They definitely would. Yeah, they tried though, but you know, I respect it because of the fact that I didn't want her to like mentally be, you know, stuck on something like damn, like this
Yeah,
dude
but that's
just
in your
keeps on-
instinct, bro. Like that's your girl, that's your baby.
right.
It's like something natural that to just happen to you. You know what I'm saying?
When I
Like,
was 5 years old, I was in the hospital and I had to have surgery. And they told my mom she had to leave, and she wouldn't leave. And I'm sleeping in the chair, and they finally were like, okay, and they left. She was a stand that I was not going to be alone, and I did that. In my 20s, I had a friend who was having surgery on her leg, and I snuck in. I was doing the same thing under the bed, lying on the floor, between the floor and the wall. I'm like, nobody's gonna find me in here. I was not gonna leave her alone. I know that if you're gonna break the rules, break them gently and break them real quiet. You're supposed to like so. But you know, I think that you know, I do get that feeling of needing to be together as a family. And COVID was very difficult because the staff were terrified. I was terrified. Go running into the hospital before we had tests. I was with symptomatic people, and and this is breathing. Labor's heavy breathing, and I said to one of the doctors, "Breath is a weapon," and she looked at me and said, "We're all gonna die." and there was it was about that. It was half serious, half truth.
Yo, man, listen.
So the COVID tests were because the staff was terrified, terrified, and we did need to know how to protect everyone, because we were all sending our families away.
I didn't have no protection, man. I had a baby, and then I didn't have no protection in the hospital.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know.
Yep.
Where can people find you?
Oh, well, so as we said before, my name is Catherine Stewart-Lindley. I run Labor of Love Childbirth Services, which is laborlove.org, is probably one of the best places to find me. But I've got socials like Labor Love Doulas on Facebook, and just my personal Instagram is CSLNYC.
Awesome. Where can people find you, bro?
Well, you can find me on media platforms. You can find me on my personal Instagram. My business page is management.sos or mgmt.sos. And, you know, if you have some beats, let's get them placed.
Let's get it. Where can they find you, Lowski?
DJ Lowe's Live on IG.
Let's
I got Twitter, but I don't really use it. So IG.
Oh, yeah, I happen to be on Twitter, too. It's the same as well.
I bet you guys got Snapchat, too.
Well, you know,
I have it.
I only do come in handy, but, you know.
I don't know what y'all use Snapchat for. You can find me, Angelina Burgos, everything. Thank you guys for tuning in.
And you can
Meet me
find
for lunch.
you can find Boogie at the Boogie_. He had to step out real quick, so sorry for that.
Boogie.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Man,
Awesome.
appreciate you for having us, man. I want to read that book. I need a personal
We
copy.
all need that book. We all do need that book.
that.
Come out. Spring
I'm
of
telling all my
2021.
friends. I'm bringing all my friends. Listen, you're not giving birth without. We bring the specialist. We're bringing the specialist. You're not gonna go through this.